couple more pieces of paper, and I'm going to leave the one that's got the ink spots on it up and start thinking about some other ideas. Actually, I think I'm going to look at the wall here. We have a castlette, a tree tower, a hobbit hole, a lighthouse. I love the lighthouse idea. I don't know who threw that out there, but that's wonderful. A bunker, a windmill. I love the windmill. I love the water mill. A lumber mill. I spent 10 years living in Seattle, so I'm familiar with lumber mills. That one, not so much, but maybe you like to cut a lot of wood. And actually, now I think about it, with the economy and trees that we're going to have in the game, that's probably a good thing. Butcher shop, herbalist, bridge house. I love the idea of a bridge house. Stilt house, tent, gypsy wagon, igloos. I'm sure if it's up north, an igloo could be kind of cool. Gypsy wagon sounds interesting. So let's talk a little bit about a gypsy wagon. House on wheels, and that actually has some organic shape to it. And, well, why not? Let's see what we can do with a gypsy wagon. I would say, hey, what do you think? Give me some feedback. But you know what? I have no idea what you're saying. So hopefully there are still a few people watching. If there aren't, I'm sure that Chris will be coming in here in a minute. Okay, so gypsy wagon. Make sure we're positioned. We look pretty good there. Okay, wagons in general. We've got wheels. How are you, sir?
Excellent, thank you. Pardon me, just coming over to watch.
No worries. We're in luck. Lord British has joined us. Let me see if I can turn this up.
I can just sneak in there. No, that's all right. You can run back down there. You're doing the important stuff. I'll
all right.
Watch over the shoulder.
Wonderful.
I might flip this computer around so I can see what people are saying.
That would be great.
Oh, that one looks great.
Thank you.
That's phenomenal. That's great, great, great. Do you have other reasonably finished ones there too that I can kind of take a peek at?
That's the first one.
All right, okay.
I've been walking through the process, and now we are on a gypsy wagon.
Oh, very nice.
I was taking a look at the list up there, and that one sounded very interesting.
Perfect.
Okay, so...
By the way, sorry to interrupt you too, but people who know I'm often referred to as the cheesiest. You know, there's my Kraft macaroni and cheese right there. I'm eating it right now for my pre-dinner.
Nice. So... thinking about a wagon and the process that I use for art. So probably the first thing I'm going to do is wagon. I'm going to see what the internet has about wagons, which is always a very good question.
I'm going to mimic you over here too. I'll pull up
Right.
gypsy wagons.
And the reason I'm doing this is because, yes, I've seen wagons and I know what wagons look like, but I'm curious as to the specifics of how the axle and the wagon itself come together. So I'll just find a picture and hopefully you can see that. It's like, okay.
Yeah, because the place where the horse is attached to the front,
yep.
Pulls a carriage. We have a gypsy wagon. The wizard Mariah has an actual gypsy wagon out on the actual Castleton on the lakefront here in Austin. And yeah, how that carriage works underneath, where it turns on a rotating plate, is important.
That's excellent. So I've got I was talking earlier about simple shape psychology when you're creating art. So circles for the wagon wheels, rectangle for the base. There's some type of stairs that come down and back so you can easily access your home. It's beautiful.
It's a nice one there.
And then,
Yeah, there's sort of two schools of thought. There's some on the top that look like housettes, and some that have these barrel-chested things. I like the barrel ones myself.
I like the barrel ones too because it's more organic and I think homey inviting. And honestly, just being American, when we think about adventure and mobile homes, I think we instantly go to covered wagons when the West was colonized. So, from the profile there,
and you can see that on these Gypsy wagons, as a covered wagon often went straight up on the sides and just had a dome on the top. A Gypsy wagon actually goes around, all the way out and around. Classically.
Yes.
I think.
So we're looking at it from the side there, and we still have a rectangular shape. But as we look at it from the front, you can see I've got the axles down here. The wheels themselves actually become very skinny rectangles. The body itself is a short rectangle, and the top here is going to be this organic curve. And I think probably what we're going to do is something that even incorporates that curve a little more, make it a little more interesting. You got your door on the back, and then you'll have your stairs coming down. So whenever something comes up where it's like, oh, hey, that's a really cool idea, I've got a picture in my mind, I don't know how accurate it is, take a look at reference. Referencing a wagon, Gypsy wagon, it's like, okay, cool, I understand how the wheels work with the axle, how the axle works with the body, how the canopy on top works. I understand the reality that it is. What do I do to make it a fantastical reality? So keeping those parts working, because they need to work the right way, and then thinking about what this could look like is the next step. So again, my pen's running a little low on ink, so
I was wondering if that was on purpose or accident. Didn't know if it was part of the process.
Yes. I'm actually walking everyone through the process, and I walked them through some of the earlier things. So, since we do have hard copy, maybe we auction these off?
We could. That's a good point. We'd have to do that on soda. I think we're too close to the end here for putting it on the Kickstarter site.
We'll save that for the future.
But yeah.
Yep.
Oh, these are great. Great.
So I'm looking at my orthographic wagon here. Let's see that. I've got my reference image that Lord British has pulled up, and one that I found. I want to call you Richard.
No, you may, of course.
But it's Lord British.
Take your pick. Matters not.
I like that. I think the fans like it. I know I like it. It's pretty damn cool. Okay, so looking at that, I certainly want to draw it in perspective. So the first thing I want to do is indicate a horizon line, and then just indicate some perspective lines. Perspective lines will actually meet on the horizon line at a point, and it's called the vanishing point. So I've got that, feeling confident about those shapes. So I'm going to indicate where the wagon wheels go, indicate where the center is. I think I will just quickly, lightly draw in some lines of where those spokes could go.
If I may just ask, you have the whole pile of pens over here. Mm-hmm. What is special about this pen that you're trying to make sure you get the last bit of ink out of it?
Because it's the lightest one. This guy is actually darker.
Ah, okay. So you're purposely using a lighter pen as the base coat, so to speak.
Correct. So it builds up.
Okay.
And with the tower here, you see that I used a darker pen to indicate where the bushes were. In case someone wanted to put rose bushes in front of their house. And then the lighter pen, as you build it up in layers, you can control how dark it gets. Mm-hmm. And there's actually it's a math-based system for the intensity of the ink. Like using a 50% twice will give you 60% or something like that.
Right.
So,
Chris, do you know if the new news went up yet?
I just gave Dallas one final change to it.
Okay, so
we have new news coming?
new news coming. Hold your horses.
Excellent.
Very soon.
Exciting.
Very soon. Moments away.
I'll give a brief talk about the Duke element that we're adding.
What, once? Not yet, but yes.
I think we can spill the beans a second early on that.
No, not yet. We're in the middle. We're in the middle of showcasing.
This could take a half an hour, an hour.
Okay.
Okay, so then we need to announce it all as a package here first. So are you okay with this?
Looks like a good spot. Okay. Should have put the cap on the pen.
Light in such a way that it, instead of highlighting this stuff over whatever that stuff is in the corner of the, I can't tell where that is.
The light is so strong against the white paper, it actually blows out the image. So I've been intentionally kind of shadowing it,
okay,
so that they get a good read on what they're looking at.
Okay. I guess that's.
Hopefully
I guess
that's the plan.
this is where the light is heading.
Yeah. So if you do
Okay. All right.
that,
But I mean, I can even turn this off if that helps. So let me just see if that helps or hurts. I haven't turned it off. There's half the light.
okay,
Here's
that's off.
Does that help or hurt?
Can you turn on the overhead light? I didn't even think about that.
Let it sink in for a second.
Yep.
Does it help or hurt?
I actually think that's better because I've got a good read on it, and actually, the table goes
And
completely
usually,
dark.
what I find is if you get the camera even closer, that might interfere with your drawing.
I tend to lean my head in now and then, but I think that's going to work.
Because what that will do is, if you get the other things, like the black table, if you get those other things out of the scene, you sometimes.
Oh, that much better.
Okay.
Thank you, Lord British.
Indeed.
Excellent. All right, gypsy wagons, and then on to houseboats. Galleons, you said?
Galleons, frigates, cassolettes.
Cassolettes. I'm going to be a very busy man. Okay, so I've indicated the wheels. Axles here. Now this fourth wheel, depending on where the position is, I don't really indicate it very much because it's going to be behind everything. And I'm going to take a look again at my reference just to see how that sits. So we've got some supports here. Go up. We have the body of the wagon that comes forward. This is our long rectangle. We have our indication or our stairs that come down, which you can see. And then we are going to, love the curved shape, so I'm going to do something a little fantastical, fantiful, whichever you prefer. Again, my lines going back, I want to keep the perspective ideally relatively accurate, and I very much am liking that shape. There's some neat organic elements about it, and I think even to that end, I'm going to indicate some windows here on the side. Everyone's house wants windows, and then something I didn't put on the keep, we'll need some kind of chimney. And here the wagon will fall down, and we'll have a door. I think we'll have a very high room in there. And then the front of our wagon will have some type of hitches for the horses. And then, yes, because it is a Gypsy wagon, we're going to have some design elements. Okay, so you can see that rough marker shape of what we're doing here. And I'm feeling pretty good about it. Actually, I look at it and the wagon wheels seem kind of small, but that may or may not be okay. Right now, I'm not going to let it bother me because it's just a sketch, just an idea. So as before, I'll grab my very thin pen and I'll start drawing out the shapes. And so I'll indicate the wagon. I want to get that silhouette. I'm going to kind of bring it to a point here and then bring it back down over there. Like that shape. And the same thing on this side. And then indicate a line where the perspective is. It looks like it's coming through all right. In this particular case, I'm actually going to have the stairs down so we can see how the door works. So I'll indicate the door frame and get a nice curve on there. And the platform. Now, I'm sure that there is a door here that would open up, and that blocks where the front door would actually be to get into the wagon. And then the wagon base itself. It's just the rectangular shape. Make sure we draw this in perspective. And then again, when I was talking about how man-made things have repetitions of lines, I want to make sure to repeat those lines. And I'm going to put some middle supports here in the body of the wagon. A little bit of support on the frame. We'll indicate some wood supports for the frame all the way around. Liking that, so I'm going to go ahead and bring it up on the side here, like that. And then where the window is at, the window is on this curve. Bring that up like that, and that over. And then we'll indicate some type of window frame. You know, this is going to be an excellent place to live. And then the smokestack for the fireplace, I think we're just going to do a metal smokestack. All right, now the support on the end here, there's a nice opportunity to do some design work. So I'm going to indicate that door frame. I'm going to put a center line that supports that. And as I'm doing this, I'm thinking about it. If I was going to build this wagon, how would I build that? That's very important. Is would I build this in a way that's, one, feasibly possible, but two, that makes sense? And I think we'll bring some lines off like that so we have a bit of a star shape, and then indicate some type of organic design. And I want to make sure I keep that design symmetrical as I'm doing this. We've got something. All right, now I'm going to indicate the staircase that drops down. I'm going to give some thickness to the wood that supports the stairs. And I'm going to indicate those stairs. There we go. Drop that down. Get more support underneath the wagon. And then we'll get the connection where the axle's at. Indicate the wheel and the spoke on that side, and then indicate the wheel on this side. All right, hand drawing ovals never goes that well. It's always good to use a template. Indicate the spokes. The axle. Got the rest of the wagon there. We'll indicate the far wheel. That's feeling pretty good. I'm actually the windows here. I'm liking the curvature of these. So we got some window frames in there, and I think it makes sense on the door to have a curved window also. Put the handle on the right side, and then some line work to indicate the wood. And actually, I think maybe we'll carry that line work through the bottom half of the wagon so that you know it's made out of wood. Then we have our fourth wheel here. Hopefully I'm not blocking you. You can see that okay. And then we have the front of the wagon, and then what we use to hitch up horses that will carry that wagon. Okay, so now that I've actually rendered it with the thin pen, looking at the shape, and I want to start indicating light and shadow. So I'm going to go back to my marker here, and we'll have the light again coming from the upper left. So that means this side of the wagon is all going to be in shadow. Wow, that pen is really dying.
Wow. That's looking nice. I've been typing over here typing, so I've been preoccupied.
You get the door, you get the underneath, and probably the most important thing is the shadow underneath the wagon, which
grounded.
Yes. So we get that there.
So how young were you when you discovered you had this magical art talent?
Well, as fate would have it,
oh, evil left-handed artist.
I actually wanted to be an astronaut.
Really?
Yes.
Excellent. Well, don't give up. I'm telling you.
And I had met John Glenn when I was a little boy in 71, 72. They had a display of, I think, the Apollo 11 out at the School of Mines where my dad had gone to school.
Mm-hmm.
And so we went out there and met him. And I actually have a program with his autograph somewhere.
Excellent.
I should dig that out because that's probably worth something.
Yeah.
Can I steal Richard for a quick second?
Oh,
Of course.
hang on. Be right back.
I will continue the story
Continue
when
on,
Lord
I'll be
British returns. All right. So usually when you do this, wow, your markers don't die, but this guy is about to give up the ghost. So I'm a little concerned. We'll see how it goes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the darker marker here, and I'm going to indicate where the interior of the Gypsy wagon is. We'll put that there. And then I'm going to take my, actually I'm probably going to take my thicker marker here, and I'm going to hit that silhouette first. Now, in this particular case, I'm actually ignoring the chimney, because the chimney is a nice little detail. When I do that, okay, as long as my head doesn't get in the way. Chimney is a nice little detail, but I don't want to obscure it. I'm going to bring that down like that. Bring this line over, and certainly the staircase we want to get with a thick line, and I think probably this forward wagon wheel, and maybe this back wagon wheel. Those curves are brutal. And then I'm going to go to the medium pen here.
Mr. Astronaut.
Yes.
You were telling me about your astronautical aspirations.
Yes. So I have a fancy for that, and had met John Glenn, and that was my aspiration. And in school, my math was pretty solid, but my science wasn't very good, and my language was abysmal. Thank God for spell checker. My spelling was really bad. I spell things phonetically. English is such a broken language. So I was pursuing that, and one of the things I wanted to do is become a pilot first.
That helps.
I have bad eyes.
That doesn't help.
Right. And that's honestly what it came down to, is I was doing a lot of this art, but I have bad eyes. And the teacher said, it's very hard to be an astronaut if your eyes aren't good.
It's very hard to be a profitable artist.
Yes.
She threw you out of one improbable thing into another improbable thing.
Yes, she did. This is like the 70s.
So, but how old were you when you discovered, like, I find people who have this kind of art talent, people who can, even the basics of the idea of straight lines and curves that add up to something you recognize at all, even those foundations seem to have, maybe it can always be taught to anyone, but to me it still seems to have some sort of mythical beginnings that strikes you at a young age. So I'm just curious, how old were you when you discovered that you felt like, you could tell, like, I can draw?
It was certainly elementary school, because the other kids in the class couldn't do what I did. There were maybe one or two.
So so you didn't have to go work past something. You literally just straight off. There was
like
something happening that you kind of got it in your head.
Yep. And then once I got to junior high, where I grew up in Denver as opposed to middle school here, I had an art teacher who was fantastic, a Mr. Jeff Dodd. He was 6'8", carrot top.
Wow.
And ex-Vietnam vet. He was the guy who carried the M60.
Yeah.
And he was incredibly inspirational, but if you screwed around in his class, he would literally take you and put you upside down in the trash can and hold you there. Yeah. So that was back in the day.
Yeah, back in the day when a teacher could do that.
Right.
You'd be fired for doing that now.
Yes. So, but he was fantastic and really mentored me. And then when I got to high school, I had great art teachers that were mentors. Mr. Glasgow and Jeff, I don't remember his last name, but they were wonderful. And I actually won Artist of the Year.
All right. Excellent.
Was quite the surprise. And then reality set in, because I wasn't the only one who was really good who was out there.
In art?
Oh yeah, there's some amazing artists that actually came out of Denver. There's a fellow I know, Todd Lockwood, who went to the same art school, who was probably 2 or 3 years ahead of me. And he's phenomenal. So,
are you telling me we got the wrong artist?
No, I'm telling you have the right artist. We were destined to work together.
All right. Okay.
This is the feedback I've got from friends. They're like, wow, how long did it take you to find it?
Yeah.
Like,
Well, as you know, I at least try. If I don't compliment you every day, I think about it every day. I think our project is also very, very fortunate to have you as a key team member here.
I feel very blessed to be here because the synergy is fantastic.
Let's see. I'm looking at the soda chat. Actually, I'll bring up the.
Does
Oh, by the
anyone
way, I
have
know
questions.
Yeah, questions. Yeah, art questions in particular. If you put those up here, I'll feed them over. I'm the one since Stephen has to be looking at the image he's drawing.
You should make sure
I
it's still
will.
on camera.
I'm looking at the feed. Tell Stephen how much we appreciate him for showing you the art. I get the impression that he thinks that we think that this is boring, which I assure you a lot of us are watching intently, which I agree with, by the way. I can tell that. I can tell when you start telling stories, the chatter stops. It does. I can watch it happen.
That's wonderful. Well, thank you very much. I'm glad you're enjoying it because I am enjoying it also.
I'll take this one from Elvish Dragon. Is it possible to switch from single to friends only mode for a day or two and then switch back to multiplayer? Yes, exactly. That's the whole point. You get it quite well there. Who was that again? Elvish Dragon. That's exactly the way it works. As long as you're playing online, you can throttle down from solo to friends only to open at will, all you want.
That's so cool.
And by the way, I also like Dr. Ikuruta about the uncertainty is always, you sort of want to have that uncertainty. You want to have that fear factor of that uncertainty. So we agree with that. We're working to make sure that stays in there too. People are, yes, by the way, everybody's winning. Stephen's fascinating. We love him. Stephen's great. Hope he does more of these sessions. I'd like to be able to give copies of these near final concept sketches, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah, and so by the way, we agree that we're also going to put together an art book, by the way. I don't think we put that in the pledge tier yet.
Do we have the art book somewhere? I thought it was
actually, no,
somewhere up there.
I don't think we do. Maybe, well, I'll have to go back and look. But if it's not in there, it was an oversight. So we'll
art book. Yes.
We'll make sure we get that in there.
That would be wonderful.
Art question.
All right, so I'm going to go back in here.
Is there any other geometric primitive and emotion or impression relationships that you keep in mind when drawing or stylizing an object?
The three I talked about, the triangle, the square and the circle, or the cube, the pyramid and the sphere and a line, those are the ones that I always focus on. Certainly if you take, and actually I'll do this with a marker that you can see. So if you take a square or a cube shape, it's very solid, impenetrable. It's a fortress. If you look at something that has this shape pattern into it, it's very fortress-like. If I take it and I make it tall, then it becomes a very imposing fortress and intimidating. It's huge and it's tall. And if I take it and I make it horizontal, then it becomes a little more serene and much more stable because it's wider square, it's more landscape-like. And then if I take it and I do something like this where it's just really skinny, then it starts to become fragile because it's getting so far away from the square shape that it's actually heading to that line shape. So to answer your question, no, those are the three that I start with, but I do always try and think about like the primitive emotions that I'm trying to, excuse me, Lord British,
No, please.
to evoke in the art. And it's just, I want a person to feel peaceful or happy, or I want them to be angry or scared, or I want to feel, them feel confident. Yes.
Do you have any particular types of images that are more difficult to work with than others?
Well, actually, doing ovals by hand is kind of tough. I very much enjoy environments and things, and when I love painting people and doing characters, but I very much enjoy stoic, simple emotional poses. Once things start to get very actiony and very comic booky, those are things that take me more time, and I really have to focus on that.
Lots of people sending you lots of great compliments, by the way.
Thank you.
Too many to mention. It's literally a constant stream.
Thank you very much.
I'll take a Sir Mick has noticed about how we're going to pull in from whatever source you're willing to give us, in any social network, or just tell us in the game who your friends are. We'll pull those out. And yes, we also want you to meet new people. We think that's you fear not. That's the way the default level of play is. Again, think of it as real-time sharding. It's real-time mini shards. We just ad hoc build shards together, and if you want, you can throttle down how much of a group of strangers you're willing to see. But fear not. The nominal level of the game that I believe everybody will play most of the time will still feel like a normal MMO.
Right, we have, let's see if I can get this in the good spot, Gypsy Wagon.